Instant noodles, the world's most popular, easy-to-make meal. The quick and cheap dried noodle block is a popular choice in over 50 countries. South Korea is home to the biggest noodle lovers in the world. Second on the list is the Himalayan nation, Nepal. And one brand has served generations of Nepalese. Wai Wai, the loved instant noodles, are now making their way to the tables in 32 countries. Wai Wai noodles is produced by the Chaudhary Group since 1972. Meet the owner of this global brand, the Noodle King, Binod K Chaudhary, Chairman and President of the Chaudhary Group, Nepal's first and only billionaire. But for Binod Chaudhary, Wai Wai was just the beginning.
His billion-dollar company now owns almost 160 enterprises, with businesses spread across several sectors, from food and hotels
to energy and education. What's the Noodle King's next billion-dollar idea?
I'm Jasper Reid, and this is Billion Dollar Idea. Welcome to Binod Chaudhary, founder of CG Corp Global. We're delighted to have you here, sir.
It's always a pleasure, Jasper.
The pleasure is ours, Binod. I was doing my research for this show, and I saw a picture of you when you were even younger and more handsome, long hair, in Kathmandu, I think maybe standing outside your nightclub, Copper Floor. But tell me, Dr. Chaudhary, would you rather have been a rock star?
That's a great way to start the conversation. I think I was great. I was very fond of music, no question about it. I was equally interested and a crazy fan of Bollywood. That's another fact. And, in fact, I persuaded my family to send me to Mumbai to become a charter accountant. In the disguise of becoming a charter accountant, I thought that I'll be able to get into some adventure in the field which has always fascinated me. But that was not my destiny, I think my life simply stopped there, and my father was unwell. I was just 18. I had all my plans and my future aspirations, and destiny changed. It took a 180-degree turn, and here I had to go back and start picking up the thread to take on me the unfinished agendas which my father had started, who was asked to step back from the business. And we did not really have a big organization or hierarchy or, people who would shoulder those responsibilities. So that's life.
I love the idea that you were trying to become perhaps a Bollywood star, a rock star, under cover of being a chartered accountant. That's a wonderful image. But tell us, Binod, you talk often about destiny, about the karma. When it comes down to it, because we'll get into your career and see how the whole thing unfolded, but do you believe that fundamentally it is the destiny?
I think so. I think a lot that happens in your life, or most that happens in your life, is destined to happen. I think coming from this part of the world, I'm a firm believer in that. But again, having said that, just because it is destined, it doesn't happen if you don't put in your best. You don't put in your effort. So sometimes you're putting in all those efforts, you're trying to do your best in every respect, things still don't happen. Let me give you a small example, that has always fascinated me. When you play a game of cards, you know the game called Rummy with 13 cards that is very popular in our part of the world, okay? Let's say that what you pull out from the pack of the card, or the cards that you get, the 13th one in your hand, okay, that's your destiny. But how to play that with the same card, that's you, that's your knack, that's your commitment, that's your ability to transform sometimes, even if, let's say, destiny wants to push you in a certain direction, you'll end up being there, but far more successful than what it is destined to be. So I think it is really a combination of your caliber, your ability, your commitment, and your passion, really. But at the end of the day, it's also dictated by the karma.
Well, good for you. And just out of curiosity, Binod, were you like that as a child? Did you get in trouble as a child? Did you live on the edge? Where does this come from?
I don't know. Well, I grew up in a very modest business family. You know, my parents were very kind. They gave us all the love and affection. But I have to admit, I went to a government school, which is called public school in our part of the world. I used to go to the school in a public bus. My mother used to give me 25 paise, you know. In India, you call it charana, you know, the coin to ride the bus. And so I have seen, I wouldn't say tough times. We didn't have problems of living as such. But obviously, I used to envy people who were much, much better off. So there was a sense of, you know, saying that I wish I could also, you know, drive around in those fancy cars and, you know, do this and do that and go here and go there. I mean, you know, why should I can't go to one of the best boarding school or go to London for that matter for my education. So I must admit that I was the life that I had seen in my early childhood and during my schooling days did give me a sense of determination that there are many steps that I must ride to get my due.
Okay, and so if you like, the modesty of the family kind of drove a certain hunger. But if you look now at the next generation and your three sons, Dr. Chaudhary, you know, you're looking at it from a different vantage point. You know, you've enjoyed the fruits of your success. You've built a very big business. Do you worry when you look down to the next generation about the hunger and the incentive and whether people have too much? What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, I must say that the three generation, all the three boys that I have, I'm fortunate. They're all very passionate like me and they're doing very well. But certainly they have no clue what their father or grandfather has gone through. And they're you know, and we try to give them what we did not get, you know. Like I sent Nirvana to Harrow School in London. All my three boys went to Doon School in India, which is, you know, by any standard, one of the best in this part of the world. So these are kind of advantages that they enjoyed, but they've also sort of been able to grow to become someone who genuinely feel that we have a responsibility to take the baton which our family is going to hand over to us or in the process of handing over to us and take it to the next level. Now, when you say that, how do I look at the future, not only for this generation, perhaps beyond? You know, there is established saying that business families don't last beyond 3 generations. One struggles, the second one consolidates, and to a large extent, in most cases, the third ones destroy because they have no, you know, idea of how it is, how tough it is.
It's a great analogy, and you know, knowing that you're tied up with, you know, the multi-generation and very successful Tata family, God willing, you'll go much further than third generation onto the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and we'll be cheering you on as you go. But just quickly, staying on the family, Dr. Chaudhary, how do you think about allocating the responsibility between the boys and different officers of the business? We interview many people that have large family businesses, and we're always intrigued by how the promoter and the patriarch thinks about that.
You know, I think that's a very a big challenge for anyone. I mean, I'm sure I'd resonate with many others people or most people in my position. You know, somebody who's given his entire life. You know, I pretty much started at the age of 18 and today I'm 66. So you can imagine what has gone in. You know, there is no one single formula of how to run a business successfully. First of all, I've always maintained that there are multiple factors which support a success in a business. It has to do, and particularly for a group like us who are globally spread over, you know, what the rules that I would apply to run a successful business in Nepal, it'll never work in Central Asia or in Middle East or in US. You know, there are different level of qualities of human resource available. There are different level of technologies which are available. The way to do business, the partners you deal with, the way they come across, I think things are different. So I think one, as someone in my position as the head, has to be able to put all these different talents together. They may be in your family, they may not be in your family, and it's not important. You got to be able to put together all these building blocks in such a way that they stay together and there is mutual respect and that legacy is carried on.
If you look at CG Corp, how do you feel you're tracking on that front? Do you think you are a brand now? Do you think there's more work to consolidate it? So when you think about the single goal and all the things you've just described, what's your report card on that front, Dr. Chaudhary?
That's a tough one, you know, I should be asking you that question. But I do believe that, I think coming from Nepal and with Nepal being our headquarter has given our brand larger than size reputation. I must say that. You know, the only billion dollar company coming from Nepal. I think it's a great brand. I think the combination of Nepal with the billionaire, Forbes recognized global conglomerate makes it a great brand. I have no modesty in accepting it. Everywhere I go, the doors open. It's also because of I must say that perhaps our business practice, the credibility and the sense of ethical business values that we resonate, which people can see. Today's world is highly connected. Nobody needs to produce brochures anymore. There are so many other means of doing a reference checks on people and companies, you know, they speak for themselves. So I would say that it'll be unfair if I said I'm not happy with what we've been able to accomplish. I think we've got a long way to go, and that's what I tell my three boys, that guys, you know from where I started, I tell them. But today, you got everything right happening for you. You're a recognized global company, maybe small, coming from a small country, doesn't matter. Now, my journey is up to the 1500 position in the Forbes, if that's any measurement or any barometer. You've got to climb up these 1500 steps. And if I was my own son, I would have done it. That's the message I always give them.
Well, that's a great challenge to your boys, Binod. Let's hope they're in the top 500, even in your lifetime. But you talk about the world being highly connected. You're also highly connected as an individual. I mean, there's no one you don't know. Jack Ma, Bill Gates, Mahathir Mohamad, you know, Prime Minister Modi. You're an exceptionally well-connected, networked man. How have you done that? Do you love doing it? Are you incredibly good at the chemistry? Talk a bit about that if you could, Binod.
I think it comes from within, Jasper. I think there are some people, you know, who are natural networkers, you know, and particularly if they come with some of these, you know, they stand on some of these interesting elements which I talked about, you have a natural advantage. I mean, me being a Nepali, a lot of people say that it's a disadvantage. To me, it's the greatest advantage. In any international forum, I'm the only one. And I get that access. And everybody has some kind of unspoken fascination for my country and Nepal. People love Nepalese. People love Nepal. Okay? And I think that's always been of a great door opener. They open the door, and then how I deal with the situation, how I leave a lasting impression, and also in any relationship, Jasper, any relationship, particularly with the people who have no time, and they meet, either they don't meet anybody, or they meet so many people that they can't even keep track of. What is important is for you to communicate honesty and sincerity of your relationship. That you're there to have a mutually rewarding relationship.
Well, that's very nicely said. And again, when you distill it down, there's a certain truth in the sincerity. And as a man who comes from a small country, being the Republic of Ireland, I have some sympathy with the idea that coming from a smaller place is an advantage. But just staying on the world, Dr. Chaudhary, I mean, you're expanding your business empire into various markets. But as you say, every single market is different, and what works in one market may not work in another. And India, of course, is multiple markets, 26 markets, possibly, maybe more. How do you think about international expansion, and how has the group become international?
I made the right move that I started from Singapore, which was a very credible base. I started with the right base, right second move that I partnered with Tatas. Somehow I was able to give them that sense of confidence that this man has that fire in his belly, even if he doesn't come from a hotel background. He has the ability to take Tata to Asia. He has the ability to turn around our hotels in Maldives and Sri Lanka and open up new vistas in Bali and Phuket, etc. So that was, I think, a second very critical move, and I don't have any hesitation in admitting. So that became my calling card, not in a negative way. I think that became my international sort of identity, partners of Tata. And everybody doesn't become partners of Tata without some solid reason behind, and you know it, and everybody knows it. I think their process of due diligence for partnership is far, far more tougher than any KYC of any bank. Okay? And what followed then was learn the business, and when we started growing in the hotel space, bought New York, bought the farm in Philippines, opened our own properties in Sri Lanka, etc., etc. And then came our Noodle, because by then Noodle, our Wai Wai instant food, had already become something which, instead of the company carrying food to different homes all over the world, the 3 generations of students were doing that. They were so much in love with the product that they would fight for it. They would ask their parents for nothing else. If they wanted to send them anything, say, send me a carton or a box full of Wai Wai. And Wai Wai started going all over the world. And so we started following them. Our job became easier. We didn't have to market. We didn't have to establish the brand. We just needed to supply and establishing factories all over India and all over the world, which we are doing. I mean, we've divided the world into 7 different locations. So I would say that we've been lucky. We've been lucky in the sense that we had a very clearly carved out path, which was huge, which offered unlimited opportunity, and we went on walking. Okay, we went on walking with full degree of commitment, passion. We were always, risk-taking was never an issue for us. I've already shared the USP that was perceived by Hindol, the former editor of the Fortune. So I think all these combination helped. And let me tell you, and I've said this to my Nepalese brothers and sisters in Nepal, doing business in Nepal is not easy, okay? We all know, a country with 25 governments in 26 years' time. We did not have developed institutions like the IAS and IFS with very matured kind of administrative bureaucracy. Okay, we are a country which have gone through series of political transition. And if in that country you know how to create a professional, well-respected organization, you can do business anywhere in the world.
Well, well said, Dr. Chaudhary. Again, we go back to the metaphor of you. You may have been dealt certain lucky cards, but you've certainly played the game well. Just coming back to you've got tremendous energy, tremendous drive. You're a truly inspirational man. But Binod, what's it all for? What's really driving you? What's the purpose of this journey?
To answer your question, I think my own personal aspirations and goals have evolved. Okay, I'm handing over the three boys and their very able team the baton of making it to the ladders of the Forbes going forward. But my priority is my foundation. My priority is, if I can, you know that I'm a member of parliament. I want to do my part to ensure that the way the business is done in Nepal is so interesting and so rewarding that we get back a large number of 6 million Nepalese who are working worldwide, looking for a small, minor, kind of a simple work. I want the youth of Nepal who are at par with the world, well educated, they are all over the world, to come back and enjoy doing business, live a happy life with their family. Well,
and again, this is the most inspirational story. Final question, Binod. You're still a very young man. In fact, if you had slightly longer hair, you look just like the guy outside the Copper Floor nightclub. So I can hardly say you're at the end of your career. No, but here's the final question, Binod, and we've loved having you on this show. When you're at the summit, right, we talked about Mount Everest, and honestly, you're such a young, energetic man. I think you're only at base camp. But when you summit, as they say, and you're looking down from the summit, how do you want, Dr. Chaudhary, people to remember you?
Well, I think I'll be very happy up there if I feel that people say that, yes, Dr. Chaudhary was able to make a difference. In business, creating and showing to the youth, the new generation, that you don't have to be born in a highly industrialized or a well-structured economy. You can be living in the middle of the chaos and you can still create an enterprise. To those who can't go to some of the big top B school in the world, that you can still go to a government school and you can still make it, provided you have that in you. There is also something called working for a larger good of the people around you once you are resourceful. And it doesn't have to be always with money. It's got to do with what you believe is your value system and what you want to what you want to leave behind as a legacy for those who have no interests with you otherwise. They look at you for your deeds and for what you did, which has impacted the lives of many. I think if I can achieve these, I think I'll be a happy man.
Well, that's beautifully described, Dr. Chaudhary. As Steve Tyler from Aerosmith said, dream on. You've certainly been a big dreamer. You've delivered. We've loved having you on the show. We look forward to meeting in person. Thank you so much for your time and best of luck with your endeavors. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Jasper. It's greatly loved talking with you.